All right, we're back. We're here to chat about hobby related things. Hey, Eric.
Yeah, hey everybody.
So, how are things on your end, Eric?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Things proceeding normally.
That's good. Same here. Yes, I don't know. Wouldn't say there's too much going on. I don't know. I know maybe the army box for the new squats was released or is being. Maybe it was actually released.
I think it might have been. I mean, it's kind of hard to know for sure.
It
Or,
is
I mean,
sort.
I guess it could just look online, but
Hey, nice
I
to
know
have you
at least
here.
those, like, they were giving out the free miniatures for some of them, but
Yeah, I think it's a little
didn't.
interesting here, particularly since this is a new army. Like,
Hmm.
I guess this happened with like sort of the Sisters of Battle as well, but it is not quite like the Sisters of Battle. Like you people had the old stuff,
That's
but
true.
for this new army, it's a little interesting in that maybe they're being hard to tell.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's is the first, like, new army in a while.
Yeah, so you'd sort of think depending on like how popular, how good the rules are, stuff like that, it would be interesting like how easy it would even be to like start the army, etc. Like most of their like the boxed game like essentially just has the troops in it and like some of those
Yeah, so
little
in that
like
sense,
bikes.
most of the stuff hasn't been released. It's just
Yeah.
that game, or not game, but army that has like the bike things, and yeah, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure they must be released because they're not.
Maybe this
Oh
stuff's
yeah, it's
sold
sold
out
out,
online.
so that's why it's like way at the back. Yeah, so I don't know. It it'd be interesting to know if they've actually sold out or if it's just like them, like, you know, artificially modifying how many they have or something to make it look like it's more popular. But I
Yeah,
guess
I
since
don't
it
know. I would
is,
imagine they are at least relatively popular
mhm,
just because it is a new army. It's the first place to us. I assume you get the army book.
mhm. There are a lot of other units that they haven't been released and aren't going for pre-order on Saturday, so I guess maybe it will be delayed a
Though I
couple
guess,
weeks or a month, maybe just to try to get people to buy this.
yeah, in some regards, you'd think, yeah, they're probably been trying to get people to buy like multiples of it or something, and then use like the waiting time for the other stuff to try and paint and assemble all that shit.
Yeah.
I don't, I don't really have much of a sense about the army or the rules. Like I didn't obviously haven't been paying attention to that. I have heard, I mean, maybe this isn't the very accurate, but through sites like Spiky Bits with Rob Bear and stuff, he had an article or so saying that there are already like tournament circuits that are considering or have already banned the army going forward in tournaments. Um, that's interesting, kind of funny,
Yeah.
and I the little that I looked into it seemed to think that part of it was a new army and it was unclear quite how powerful it would be in play.
Mhm.
since like people really hadn't used it or play tested with it, but it did seem like there were aspects of the rules that seemed maybe a little either too powerful or sidestepped or would get around a lot of the
Main restrictions or something from.
or like main rules in the game that like
Mm-hmm.
oh all these weapons just automatically like wound or cure. I don't know, but regardless, it's sort of interesting. Sort of based on what the army looks like, it looks to be a shooting heavy army. Maybe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What is interesting too, this probably just speaks to growing detached from
Hmm.
playing the core game. But I remember like with the start of new editions and new army releases, there'd be all this stuff, rumors of rules and things like that that you can follow up and potentially get excited about.
Hmm.
Presumably some of that happened here too,
Oh,
but
I'm sure.
I'm just so out of those circles that I just
Yeah.
didn't see it at all.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess some of that is probably minimized a little bit over the years in that GW just continually reveals pictures of models and slowly reveals rules and stuff. So maybe it
Yeah. Well, so
minimized some of that desire.
yeah. Well, this past weekend I think was the first weekend you could go to a local GW store and get a free one of the Votan models, one of the infantry models. Um,
Hmm.
I really wasn't in the position to try and go, but I
Yeah, I
wonder
wasn't either.
I wonder if they were available. They probably were. Um, I think I would talked with the one store manager at the one games workshop around here, and they seemed to imply that they thought they'd be getting at least around like 100 or more of the models, and that
Quite a lot.
yeah, that is quite a lot, and based on how many people had been calling and asking about the model, that they seem to think that most of them would be gone probably within
Yeah.
that weekend or pretty quickly.
Hmm. Yeah, missed that opportunity.
Yeah. But yes, that's interesting.
And it would have been sort of nice, but
I mean, I don't have time to work on any of that stuff.
yeah, it's true. I would have just sat in a bin
Put it
somewhere.
in a box. Though I guess probably all I would do with it is just try and convert a weapon or something, which
Nah,
maybe I
that's
could have
true.
done quickly.
I
Probably
feel
not.
that would be the main thing, just to be, like let the design largely stand on its own, but just
The
show
weapons
with
look
it.
fucking awful. They're so bulky. Mm, the
Yeah, it's not
one
good.
they just show one of the normal dudes on Games Workshop site. They drilled the barrel and it's not even remotely centered.
Pretty cool.
Looks bad.
Man, I watched, I guess it was a YouTube video, Ninjon, so Maniac's
Hmm.
friend who started YouTube thing about like kind of a speed painting thing in which he
I saw that video existed. I didn't watch it.
followed sort of the honest wargamer has like kind of a speed painting method, and he kind of tried to use it to paint one of the newer Mark 6 Marines and then one of the
Hmm.
uh Voltan models. And having spent a little while painting this Mark 6 Dark Angel and whatnot, and just getting accustomed to what the model looks like, and
Yeah.
then seeing this model that Ninjon painted, wow, the model just doesn't have a neck and looks a lot worse without it compared to the minor modifications you had done to extend that a little bit.
Yeah.
It like really goes, I feel, a long way in making the model look better
Yeah.
and not just like they pasted a head onto something.
Yeah. That's
Like
interesting.
it's
I'll have to go back and watch it.
a pretty minor thing, but it does make a pretty big difference.
I think that's true with a lot of the models. Subtle modifications or changes can really go a long way.
The Votan dude you have up there, it's he actually, or he or she, I guess I don't know, has bionic legs.
Yeah, that's what I sort of thought might be true.
Yes, some of them do. Like they don't all look like that.
Yeah. Their arms are too far away from their bodies, I think.
Yeah, they do look a little weird in that way.
Hmm.
I feel one thing about if you try to take that model and just cut down the weapon a lot, because of how they're made, they're so broad
You
too.
would have to like replace the whole fucking thing.
Yeah, and that's kind of a shame.
Yeah, it's so broad. Like I feel it could be at least half the width, and even that might not be doing enough.
Mm-hmm.
It really reminds me of like a flak cannon or something from Unreal Tournament or Quake or something. It's like
Yeah, it's
those
true.
unbelievably bulky and clunky looking things. This is probably even still bigger than that though.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Don't like it.
No, it's not the best. Not the best.
But yeah, so they're interesting.
It is kind of or odd just to reflect on that this is a squat army. Now, it's not just like rumored that they're coming back, that sort of thing.
They've
They're
done it.
just back. They're now a part of the universe. Someone's starting today. They're
Hmm.
just squats are just a part of the universe.
Where they
After,
never left.
yeah, I suppose, but it's been at least 20 years of joking about how they're not a thing.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that they're just back and now there's no mystery around it. It's just a thing. And the one sergeant-ish model that's just holding a sword directly up in the air and is
Mhm.
also holding a gun up in the air and they're one whole squad picture, like, wow, that is a bad looking pose.
I mean, I think the whole notion, the pose with holding a sword up in the air is just an awful pose, and I wish they just never happened. But they will continue to happen.
There's hope for Chaos Dwarves. I hope Chaos Dwarves become a thing again. It
Also,
seems it would be very easy to incorporate into Age of Sigmar. I mean, weren't there a couple in like a Warcry warband or
yeah,
something?
the Iron Golems had one. Yeah, at least one. Like the old Forge World Chaos Dwarves are
Oh yeah, they
cool.
were nice.
That's sort of where I would hope they would go with them, unless over the top chaos like they're
Yeah,
tending to do a
yeah,
lot
yeah.
of now. But
Yeah, it will be what? Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the next big Age of Sigmar thing is, because that they have been a thing that have, pretty consistently getting quote unquote new armies or just
mhm.
redesigning them. Oh, I guess it's the Age of Sigmar or the Empire, Cities of Sigmar or whatnot. That's, I guess, the next big thing, which, has the potential to be cool.
That could
But
be neat. Yeah, I
I
don't.
feel they're pretty consistently just adding more stuff. Um, Whereas these, I feel, are the first new 40k army in long time. Like what, Tau maybe?
The Gene Stealer cultists, maybe.
I guess that.
They, I feel, yeah.
It would be nice if the Wood Elves, like, it's neat that the Sylvaneth, like, they did that and kind of have an army that's focused more on the Dryad sort of design, but not at the expense of just having a more traditional Wood Elf
Yeah.
army.
Also, I really remember when they redid the Wood Elf army, and Alex Hedstrom did a lot of the, like, sculpted most of it, and like Brian
Yeah,
Nelson
what, we were in
sculpted
high
the
school then,
Dryads.
maybe.
Like, they were awesome. Like, all
Nah,
of
they
those
were
different
cool.
character models, like, so many, almost all of them were awesome. The plastics were nice for the normal warriors and whatnot. They had like three different spell singers, several different, like, they were super cool. Like, I still really like them. But yeah,
Hmm.
some of the newer stuff, the Sylvaneth, whatever, I'm not.
Yeah, I think
It's
it's
fine.
bullshit if you're calling it just like the Age of Sigmar of, the Age of Sigmar version of the what else. I think that's stupid in the same sense that, like, the dwarves, the fire dwarves, fire slayers or whatever, like,
Yeah.
that is not dwarves, or at least to me that's not dwarves in uh
Well, they're
Age of
just a
Sigmar.
faction
It's a,
of them. A
yeah,
dumb
faction that
faction.
literally no one cares about. I wonder if anyone ever cared. I guess probably right when they were released, just as like, oh, it's one of the first full armies. But
Yeah, like, I think some people did at least a little, but some of that was just the fact that that was what was available.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Be interesting to see. Do you think like the next or one of the upcoming kill team boxes will have a kill team for the Leagues of Otan with like an accessory upgrade sprue or something?
They could do something like that.
It seems like it has to come eventually, but having just designed the kits like this, they wouldn't like do dramatic redesigns or anything.
Yeah, because they already redesigned them for Necromunda too, so
Oh yeah, the more traditional squats, the
yeah.
ones that were separated from the Votan long enough.
Yeah. Age of Sigmar is interesting. I still feel like it has some of the nicer models GW puts out, but it is very much so. It's just a almost like a random roll of the dice. Like, they're releasing all this sort of over the top, kind of dumb bullshit, and then
Really
they'll
high
release,
fantasy.
yeah, really, yeah, and then they'll release like some really reserved and cool, like, witch hunter character models or something, and it's like, damn, these are cool.
Well, towards that end, they recently revealed the next Underworld
Yeah,
set,
they did actually.
and that kind of speaks to the idea of they have two new war bands that are much more reserved than normally associate with Age of Sigmar. Like there's a kind of a human war cry-ish war band,
Of
and
like
then just
barbarians, kind of.
mm-hmm, and then some armored skeletons, and they look generally pretty nice.
Yeah,
Um,
so they're certainly like big, buff, strong barbarian, like the human ones, but they're not quite as overdone as some of
mm-hmm.
the barbarian type characters they often make. Like they
Yeah.
look pretty good. And then
I feel particularly the skeletons, it's like they're just some grave guard, like slightly redesigned grave guard,
to
and it
me, they're like slightly redesigned Graveguard that look awful lot like they've come out of the Hordes, like Warma Hordes
they do. And
universe.
a
Like
little bit of some of the painting too
the
makes it
painting does
such
not
that
help at all. The blues and whatever, but and like this one in particular that I have up here that has like a weird helmet falling over their face.
mhm.
That sword, that big shield, the blue color, that's
It really
not
does.
that's not Warhammer.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I mean, they look okay. I feel of the models in this, the skeletons are certainly the weaker of the two because they don't. Yeah, they look more like War Hordes, War Machine stuff, or like Diablo
Mhm.
esque stuff. So I don't really like that.
Yeah, they do sort of seem like they lack a little bit of the Warhammer identity.
Like the smaller normal ones, I think look a little better, but the more characterful, like larger ones, like yeah, they sort of lack the identity. I don't like them at all. They also need to get better artists to do their art for
Yeah, I almost feel like
Underworlds.
it's like they just pump them out so much that they don't like they can't have Paul Dankton
hmm
do everything. So
Yeah, honestly, I like the barbarians well enough. I wouldn't say they're awesome or like I need them, but
mhm.
for the general barbarian archetype, particularly for Games Workshop, I think I think they're pretty good.
Didn't I think Nikki Grillet had a hand in designing them,
Oh yeah, on Instagram they mentioned that yeah, they helped design them, which
which
that's
is
cool.
cool.
Yeah, like I think the barbarians look nice. The skeletons are a little
As I was saying, I'm kind of surprised how on Age of Sigmar some of the stuff is. Like they didn't like try to really go
mhm.
to town at making them really flamboyant. But
I
normally the
yeah.
Underworld warbands are pretty good in terms of
Yeah.
model quality.
I feel they're kind of a nice entry point for a lot of things because most of them are relatively cheap and a lot of them even if you don't like all of the models there's typically one or two that are quite nice and you might be able to find use for in a conversion. And I mean, I guess related to that, we talked about this a little last week, but I finished converting one of them into a little zombie for Mordheim.
Mhm.
So, like, I don't know, quite nice. Didn't have to do a whole lot of modifications to the model, and I think they're ready to go. Like, a lot of them have pretty nice looking
Man, does it have
faces.
long legs?
Yeah. I would say, I think Warhammer or Games Workshop sculptors are also sort of going the Malifaux slash Infinity. They're going down that path where they're making the models, they're making their heads much, much, much smaller, and their like legs and stuff much, much longer. And I don't like that.
Yeah, I feel they
Like they're
tendency
moving
to
away
do
from
it
the
too
heroic
much.
yeah, they're moving away from some of the heroic poses and stuff, but they're not necessarily going to something that more realistic.
Yeah, it's
I mean, this
uh,
zombie I still feel it has the pose, the proportions are just much better than most of the GW models now.
yeah, it is interesting how I feel a lack of a proper torso is so ubiquitous in the GW models and archetypes.
Yeah, this one is a little harder to tell what's going on because, like, they don't. The butt of the model wasn't really sculpted, just hidden beneath, like, the little tunic or whatever. It's a little harder to tell.
Yeah, I mean it is a skeleton, I guess, and but without that, yeah, it's hard to know exactly what was the intent there.
They sort of, if you like, you actually look at the model underneath, they sort of sculpted their butt.
And I think from the back, looking at the back, it makes the legs look a lot longer because of where the knees are, like where they bend.
Yeah. It's also, if you're looking at the back where, like, they bend, it's really interesting how they sculpted some of, like, the folds and stuff in the cloth. It's like they just didn't, sculptor didn't put much effort in that, which is kind of
Uh-huh.
weird. Like, I wouldn't have left it like that. Which, so in this post, we also have a little picture of this ogre. I was looking at the model again, and I sort of feel like I want to go back and modify the model more. Like, on the back of the model, you have a bunch of chains and stuff that are holding the armor on.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember someone had commented on the post, I think Glasgun Packer, who comments on a bunch of our posts, suggesting that those change would look better as, like, leather straps, and
Mm-hmm.
that would make more sense. I agree with that. I feel I should do
Mm-hmm.
it.
Yeah. Be cool to paint the have this model painted. The ogre in particular. I'll probably paint this zombie.
Yeah, I need to try and paint the ogre. It's been on the to-do list for a long time.
I started to paint a this little ghost thing from Anna of Gardens of Hecate's what her old Kickstarter thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's honestly painted somewhat in the style of the Bone Forest models that we painted not long ago with some of the same purples and blues.
Mm-hmm.
It's going okay. I don't know. I should probably push some of the contrast and some of the stuff a little bit more, but I think it's another. I'll probably, for the Mordheim stuff, include a couple of those uh, in my weird undead warband, just because it's supposed to be weird anomalies having
Mm-hmm.
arisen after years of warp wardstone or warpstone exposure.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
don't know. It'd be interesting. Get your opinion on the paint scheme so far, Adam. Some of the stuff I don't know if it necessarily shows up that well in pictures, but yeah, I find it's interesting. Some models like I find look good in pictures, others not as much, and like you have to really work at it to improve the look of the models. Whereas I feel these Dark Angels always seem pretty nice. Hey, it seems Modern Synthesis is on here.
Oh, damn. Nice to have you.
Yeah. Sculpting butts, quality content. Oh yeah.
The more of that, the better, honestly.
But yeah, Adam sculpted the cute little fish skeletons which are fun. And I guess because Mordheim has a lot of fish imagery and whatnot, and I think it's not, or at least a bunch of those fish were like, I assume dead fish, but not rotting per se. So
Yeah.
it's fun in the sense of 20 years later that now the fish are just these skeletons.
Yeah. But Eric, I think the little ghosty that you're painting, I think
Mm-hmm.
some of the areas, I think you could probably just have much larger areas painted in the light blue rather than
Yeah,
just
yeah.
have it be like almost like an edge highlight with lighter blue.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Eric, you finished painting this one Mark 6 Dark Angel, is that right? It's Mark
Yeah.
6?
And
Yeah.
yeah, modern synthesis, I do find it is kind of satisfying to look at all of them painted in a fairly similar style and just the change over the years and just change with different design perspectives. It looks kind of neat, even though they're space marines.
I think it's I've certainly seen a lot over the internet, different people showing scale photos and stuff. It's kind of nice to now, Eric, that you've actually painted a whole range of these models in a very similar scheme with similar basing and whatnot. It's a much easier to get a sense of
Hmm.
the scaling and stuff. And they are actually quite a bit different. And the Primaris Marine is noticeably larger, which is good.
And bulkier, yeah.
Yeah. Modern Synthesis is asking about the October model the GW's given out for free. I didn't really look into that too much other than I did notice that it did involve here it is. Well, Modern Synthesis,
Curse
did you
City.
did you get a free one of the Votan squat models? I think they
Yeah,
were
we didn't get
available
the
this weekend.
opportunity. We did not get the opportunity. And I mean, I guess a random
We'll be able
model
to
from
pick
Curse
up a
City is sort of fun. Like some of the models in there were kind of cool. Well, I could see you just getting one of the stupid zombies
Yeah, I
because I
feel maybe
feel
if you had a good relationship with the manager of the store, you could probably get someone cool.
it's funny because after this they released just the regular zombies and they're really nice, but the zombies in this are not so nice because they're all, or the majority of them, have their big gravestones and such. And it's just like, yeah, they really went Age of Sigmar on this shit. But thankfully,
Yeah, they
they
did.
didn't really. The secret with Votan is to have a GW employee friend. Yeah, I think that would help. I mean, you've kind of have the one you go do periodically, but I feel it's not.
Yeah.
It's frequent enough that I'm sure he recognizes you, but not so much that like you're always in there. Because it'd be hard to always go in there, because it'd probably be kind of depressing.
It sort of is.
Seeing the same stuff, there's nothing to actually buy. Like anytime trying to get those coins and such, you have to struggle to find stuff to buy. Because
I got the coin for the Votan coin, but I did not get the model. The coin was available earlier.
so cool.
Yeah. Um, it is sort of the curse. A lot of the Curse City models were pretty good, and I think a lot of the hero models were very good. Not
Hmm.
the dwarf one, but
Who buys the collectible coins? I don't think anyone buys them. I think people
well. So
go,
I do remember there was a time when I was trying to actually collect a bunch of them. I since gave up because I didn't care, but I did spend some time looking around on eBay and like people were selling them like
Well, maybe like $20 a coin or
20
something.
$30 a coin. So yeah, so I don't know how many people were buying them,
Well, when the miniature of the
but
month stuff, is that free or is that like
it's free.
okay, whereas the coin thing you have to have spent like $100 maybe?
Yeah, so I think the miniature of the month is their ploy to get people to come into the store hoping for the free model and then encourage them to spend money,
Yeah, okay.
which
I mean, given the free models is a good idea.
no, it
Like it
is. It's
doesn't
like it doesn't
cost
cost
GW
them
much.
very little.
And I feel slowly because a lot of the initial models were pretty like who gives a shit? Like you don't want those models.
Well, I remember when the new High Elf stuff came out, they were giving away one of the High Elf spearmen or
Mhm.
spear wielding models, and I thought that was actually nice. So,
I think more
particular.
recently they've started to get a little bit better, like
Mhm.
giving out a Votan model like basically right when they're released is pretty good to get people them in the hands of some people to see like, oh, I do like these or and in this case, Cursed City, like that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, they really should be using these free models to encourage people to be excited about the new ranges and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the coin for this month is kind of cool looking. Here it says, "How's your coin collection going? If you have at least 6 different ones, you can pick up a free album to store them in." I have that album.
Did you put some of the coins in?
I did. What?
That's so cool. How many coins do we have now? It's such a cool collection. Because I feel we got a lot of the kind of initial months, but then to be honest, like they've just been this has been going on longer than I anticipated. Like
Oh
that they are
yeah.
perpetually doing this, which maybe good on them. It sort of surprises me. I thought it would be like they did it for a year to try to get people
Here it is.
in the
We
stores or
have
something,
six.
but
Or seven, I guess. We
that's
have the.
pretty cool.
I'll put the Votan one in there. So, no, I mean, we
So good.
got the first, I think, the first five. And I know, Modern Synthesis, you helped us with at least one of the coins. I don't remember which one it was.
The coins are from just randomly kind of associated often with a new release or something. And
They
it's like,
typically
oh,
are at least loosely associated with things that are being released that month, but it's not always super consistent. Like one of these was like an ultramarine coin. Like it was probably they released that one
are all
character
the
model.
are all the 40K ones silver and the Age of Sigmar ones gold, or is that just
No, that's not true.
happenstance?
That's just happenstance.
Okay.
Or well, I don't know. Maybe. Actually, I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, so I have one of the albums. They're it's kind of fun. It's certainly the coins are pretty nice and like you certainly could use them for like objective markers or something if you wanted to.
Well, because I think they're pretty similar to some of the objective markers they used to release.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It
Yeah.
is so they have a picture of the little album. You can tell this album picture was from the start of the whole thing because those coins there are like the first three coins
Okay.
or the first few that were released.
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't take a new picture.
So on Thursday, I played the first game of Gaslands, like that Matchbox car based Mad
Yeah.
Max like game since like 2016. So I feel Greg and I had done a little playing of it for like playtesting purposes when it was sort of in a beta
Hmm.
setting, and I kind of got back to try to play it again, and it's pretty fun. Like the
Okay.
rules seem a little complex at first, but after you play like a round or two, it all kind of falls into place and makes a lot of sense. It sort of is a bit like X-Wing in the sense that you have defined movement tiles,
Hmm.
um, but there aren't like little dials or anything. But it's fun, easy to play, and I actually played with three other people, all of us just driving around with two or so cars, crashing into each other and so forth. Like, yeah, it was fun
That's
because
fun.
many, like, yeah, years ago when they released Gaslands released an official set of acrylic templates and stuff.
Mm.
I got them. They've since stopped selling them, I think, just because there are enough like Etsy and random places that sell them as well. But um yeah. Um it's pretty different from Gorka Morka in that it's like pure car based stuff. But like there's kind of some crazy fun stuff about it, and how you they have like a system in which you have to change your gears, like gear up to higher gears such that you can activate more often, and it modifies which templates you can use. Because if you go too fast, you can't do as sharp turns and things like
Hmm.
that. And the more you do kind of tricky maneuvers, you get like little hazard tokens and have a chance of like wiping out and spinning or flipping and whatnot.
Yeah.
And it's fun. It's like really straightforward, and at some instances, the like your opponents can kind of direct which way you spin if you wipe out and things like that. And
Is there any
y-
progression or anything like that? Like,
I'm pretty sure there's like you can build warbands that get different upgrades and weapons and stuff. And I think there's also a progression thing to get skills and things like that. Although I haven't looked too much about that stuff since I've only just been playing like the core thing. But
yeah.
there's a lot of there seems to be a lot of depth in different scenarios. And the actual rule book, this is like the more updated one, which is admittedly has been out since like 2019, but it's a nice hard covered thing. Like it's only like $30 for it, and it's really well printed for that in color, all that.
Hmm.
Like it's surprisingly nice. And like at least in the United States, like I just got it off Amazon and it was like $15 or something.
Damn, that's
But like you
cheap.
can download from their website like um summaries of like the rules and all the weapons and stuff. Like it's pretty nice, and I don't know, hope to be able to play a little bit more of it.
That would be nice. Yeah. Is there like a set number, like if you're a player, you want so many cars or anything like that, or does that
I think
not
it just
matter?
depends on point values. Like I think they suggested like somewhere between what is it? Like 25 and 100 points essentially is like a standard warband, but you could go up further. Like for 25 points, like you can basically get two cars and
Okay.
maybe like a weapon upgrade or something like that.
Okay.
But I don't know. The game, I mean, part of it was us learning the rules, but it took a little while, even though it was four people only with like two cars. But I
Mm-hmm.
think having played a little bit longer and people gotten a sense of what they can do and should be trying to do, I think it would go faster.
Do like different cars have different like movement profiles and stuff like X-Wing, or is it
Um, Not quite. They have the amount of the templates are the same, but what templates you can use depends on what gear you're in, and
okay?
certain like the max gear is 6, and like a regular car can't even go up to that. They can only go up to 5th gear, whereas like a
Okay.
performance car can go up to 6. Like a
Mm,
truck can only go up to 4. So there's differences in that. And then there's a stat called like handling, which like the better cars have a higher
yeah.
handling, and that gives you these dice that you can roll after you've selected your movement tile called skid dice, and they essentially have different results. Some of are like a shift result, which using those results you can shift up or down, but you can also get hazard tokens as a result of the dice, which make you get closer and closer to wiping out. And you can also roll spin and what I guess skid, which aren't necessarily good, but you can kind of use those results to like drift around stuff or
Okay.
around obstacles and whatnot. But cars with a higher handling, like you can roll more of these dice, and the more you roll, like you can kind of work out clever things. Like, oh, if I get this, I can shift up so I can activate in the next round, and then slide out of the way of a particular obstacle, then spin to like reorient myself so I can shoot at another target or whatever. And
Yeah.
so in that, like there's a fair amount of flexibility of what your cars can do, despite it maybe initially looking like there isn't. And like
Yeah.
most of the die results are actually pretty useful. So there's a lot of flexibility that makes it pretty fun.
Okay. I feel those underworld war bands and stuff. I think they're some of the nicer. Like if you were going into like a shop like GW or something, since they tend not to have most stuff in stock, like they
Yeah.
often they often do have some of the underworld stuff, and a lot of the war bands are pretty neat. And at least they have one or two models in most of them that I feel could have a wider range of applications from
Mhm. I f
not just
Yeah.
Age of Sigmar stuff.
I feel you're probably right, Modern Synthesis, that I feel there was a lot of demand for Curse City right when it was first released, when it was sort of announced they didn't make that many, and then people were pissed and like, "Oh, they wanted them, yada, yada." And now that finally they like a year or so later decide to make more, I think a lot of the people who thought they wanted at the time are just not really interested anymore. They've moved on. There's enough other stuff to be excited about that I could see them just being, yeah, they have stuff left over. Yeah, but we do have the Votan one. Thanks for thinking of us, though.
I'm pretty sure the Death Guard one, maybe that was who sent us.
It's a lot of money there to get those dumb coins.
Yeah. Don't mind you, I guess it's pretty easy to spend over $100.
Oh,
Which is
actually, I recently learned that there's a Cursed City expansion coming out that I think we talked about it being briefly about being pretty underwhelming, in that it's essentially just a lot of it is just rules for some of the other vampire special characters,
oh yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I had just assumed that the box came with those models, the
I
3
assume
or
it
so,
doesn't.
and it does not. So it's like, I
Yeah,
don't know, somewhere between 40 and $60, and
does it contain no
there
models?
it has no models.
Well, I mean, that makes sense because most of those vampire characters are themselves quite expensive.
Yeah.
Like, I feel
So,
that,
like, to
yeah.
actually use that stuff, you'd have to spend, like, you'd have to spend the 40 to $60 to get the new rules, and then buying all those models, it'd be, like, over $200, like, more than the actual game, which is already quite an investment. It's like that, I guess, makes sense from their point of view. It's just like way to gouge money off of people, but it's not a great look.
But I mean, this is Games Workshop. They do stuff
Yes,
like that all the time. People
it's
have come
true.
to accept it.
I
And
guess the Blood Bowl Norris team, are they out? They're out
oh,
already,
yeah,
I
I
guess.
have them. I have
Damn.
their pitch too.
Okay.
The Amazon team is soon going up for pre order.
Mhm.
I'm sort of interested in that. I'm not 100% sold on the models, though I think overall they look pretty good. I think their feet are a little too big and their heads are a little too small, which is sort of
That's
something.
Infinity.
Well, yeah, it was sort of something we touched on earlier that Games Workshop is really they're really starting to make the heads of their models a lot smaller, and I think in many cases they're too small now.
Yeah.
And maybe I think they are making the feet of their models a little smaller for some of them, but they still haven't gone far enough.
Mhm.
But yeah, they really make the head small. It's like I don't it doesn't look good in most cases. Like these aren't pin-headed space marines.
Yeah.
Though I mean, despite that, I still think the teams look pretty good. I didn't really look at what the rules are like because like previously like they had sort of makeshift rules for the Amazon team. Like I wonder how good they are.
Yeah, I don't know.
Guess they have rules and stuff here for them, but I honestly I don't know the rules well enough for the game to really the law the normal line like the line women they have dodge. Seems kind of good.
That's pretty good. I mean, yeah, no, it seems pretty. I mean, they probably have really low armor or something that means they're
Ability
much more
super
prone to
hot.
die.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. Like I sort of feel like I will probably buy the team. Maybe I'd try and buy their pitch as well because it's probably going to be kind of cute. Have little like snakes and other stuff on it.
Uh-huh.
So where it says like the previews or what's going to go up for finding this always terrible. Oh, here we go. There's the team. Oh yeah, there. At least a few pictures of the pitch. No, they only show. There are
Mm-hmm.
snakes. Looks pretty good. One thing it also showed, I think Forge World is released. I assume this is Forge World, or maybe it's not. Maybe it's just plastic. They have a thing for Escher, the Escher models with like backpacks and gas mask heads and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think the backpacks are okay. They're not great, but they're okay. I think the Escher models were what they really went to town. Like we, I think, talked about them quite at length when they were released and had a blog post about them and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But they were really one of the first where it became very apparent that they were really making the heads of their models much
Well,
smaller.
that post, when was that? In 2018. It's now looks like our second most popular post, or
Seriously.
popular in most views, just because since it talks about female representation
Oh
in
god.
Games Workshop models, it resulted in lots of anonymous trolls.
hmm
Um,
I mean, I feel we still get comments on it every few months, like a troll comes on and says something stupid.
no, yeah, it is true. We do get them.
Like
And
it's sort
most of the time, even if they're pretty dumb, I still just accept them and let people read them. And
what baffles me is how are people still finding it, and like how do they feel strongly enough to like post a con. I don't know if people, if yeah, I guess viewers here, if you yeah, if you go to our blog on the side, there's a thing for popular posting, and the second one we talk about, yeah, female representation concerns with the Necromunda Escher models. There's where we talk about it a bunch. You should you should go and look at it. Gosh, we even pulled out like Excel and stuff. That's funny.
yeah, I
Uh,
think I might have used ImageJ, which is like a
yeah.
free NIH developed software to um essentially measure the area of the various Games Workshop heads to sort of normalize it to the standard Gene Stealer cultist to
The
show just how
Goliath heads are
small.
smaller than the Gene Stealer cultist heads. And the wit, oh god, it's bad. Well, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
wow.
viewers, if you haven't read this post, you should go and read it, and then I would probably say don't read most of the comments because, like, gee, gosh, there are
You
113 comments,
like
and
when Greg spent a long time responding to these, or a lot of these, and wow, it's not worth spending too much time on it. There's a lot of dumb people there, but
yeah, my god. But yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, we still every so often will get comments from people, and they're almost always someone coming on and like trolling, saying something kind of
hmm
stupid or something where it's very clear they didn't even read the post. And yeah, it just sort of baffles me. How did they find this? And like when they found it, like why did they even read it? Like,
or they probably didn't
or yeah, why do they look at
before
it?
posting.
And it's just baffling. It is
Yeah,
interesting to see of the popular posts. It's kind of interesting. There used to there used to be one about us commenting about like Space Marines in one of the new editions of the game or something. I'm glad that's no longer here.
yeah, it's kind of nice.
Oh, and an
That's
introduction to sculpting is finally there. That's good. So people are
so
looking at that.
that's nice to see.
So this, if I don't know if Modern Synthesis, if you're still watching the stream, but I think one of the things that I find most interesting is like I still talk to a bunch of people who are quite good at sculpting and do a lot of sculpting, and they're still not doing anything to lubricate their tools, their sculpting tools, other than water. And it sort of just baffles me. What is it? What convinces them not to just continue using water? Like, because I've talked with a lot of people and like tell them like, hey, like I just used to use water for a long time too, and despite
I
hearing that it was stupid, and then
yeah.
like I changed and it helps so much. Like I just don't understand like why do people resist it? Like I can understand resist like not knowing about it and
Mhm. I feel some people they just have the way they do things and they're like, "Oh, could it maybe I have to wash the model afterwards or something." But
oh
like you're
yeah,
not
so
like slathering the whole model with this stuff. I mean, maybe Vaseline if you use that, it would deposit on it a bit more or something,
but
but
I don't even think that's true because
yeah,
it's
I
not
doubt
like
it cuz
you're not slathering the stuff on.
yeah, no.
Because like
No. So
I guess what surprised me was recently Anvils of Connor, the Horus Heresy enthusiast who does Death Guard stuff. They have a pretty nice. They have
looks like he just came back.
a pretty nice YouTube channel, and they recently put up a video showing how they sculpt the like the soft armor in between like the joints and whatnot. And they talk a little bit about how they only use water when lubricating their tools. And then they say some stuff about like, oh, I know some people like use like Vaseline and stuff, but like I'm not sure that you might have to then go and clean your models afterwards. And it like it almost baffled me. Like so in this video you're just digging your heel in the sand and saying like I'm just going to continue to use water, and then sort of almost spreading misinformation that you don't even know if it's true or not. Like I I
Is weird.
baffles me.
Man, and I must say,
Oh
like
wait,
God, I really dislike the Tortuga Bay models.
you're
Like
making are you making a video? I do a test where I sculpt with nothing but water, Nivea, and then Vaseline. Don't watch the test. Oh, that's so.
that is absolutely amazing.
Apparently, Vaseline does need washed a little bit.
Huh.
Okay, I could see that more so, but um, well, the thing is, like,
It I I mean, I don't do that much sculpting, but like even for the simple stuff like filling in like mold shifts or little gaps and stuff, it helps so much. Or like I do sometimes I've recently had to sculpt some of that little soft armor, the ribbed stuff,
mhm,
and it is so much easier using that stuff. Like I
yeah,
it astounds me. Like they're just making it a lot harder. But yeah, those Tortuga Bay models look terrible. Um, it, it's so weird. I feel like they've. I mean, I guess they haven't, but it to me it sort of seems like they just missed the boat on like, oh, people are doing true scale stuff. Like, I guess they just want bigger GW models. And I mean, I guess some that is literally what they want, and I guess people buy them. But like God, does that miss the boat? Like this one Anvils of Connor is working on looks pretty terrible.
I mean, they're certainly. I think if you look, have Anvil's side up here just because they have a lot of them now. Um, I think in general they look better than the classic Marines,
Yeah.
but
Most of them, it's just like they still their legs are still weird and they're just bigger,
the big thing is
not
their
better.
torsos aren't that they aren't long enough.
Yeah.
Like that all of that doesn't exist, and I'd be interested. I think he actually Anvils has a video maybe on his channel about where he's actually unboxing and reviewing one of the sets. I should go and watch it. I really wanna see if they sculpted butts on the models. So I would imagine they didn't because almost all of the models are just essentially a blatant ripoff of GW designs. It's just their scale, they're a little larger. And I mean, they do look better that way. But if they actually sculpted on real butts on the models, then I would accept these a lot more.
Yeah, I don't.
Despite the fact that it's largely just or it is just ripping off GW's design and then selling it. So
Mhm.
I don't love that.
Yeah. Yeah, nah, for I guess to me it's odd because he does a lot of stuff with the Tortuga Bay. Maybe he's just in too deep with it, has made too many models like this. But I would much rather get the like Fummel Finger ones.
I'm pretty sure he did something with one of his models
Okay.
and then
But I think
didn't
they look
know that that was the same person.
oh yeah, but I think they look a lot better and were designed just better, look better. I mean, they're still like kind of really bulky and stuff, but yeah, I don't know. Sure has a lot of these Death Guard. Yeah, nah. Marines are boring. Marines are boring. Which I don't know, maybe we should just think of calling this soon pretty too. Or
Yeah, I think
calling it closed soon. I feel we've talked about what's available.
we largely have. But yeah, so if you're sculpting models, you really want to get some of the Nivea hand cream and use that to lubricate your tools. It helps so much. You don't need to
Yeah, the
wash
stuff
it.
great.
You don't need to wash your models afterwards. Um,
I got a tin of it looks like a 75 milliliter tin. It's much smaller than what you have, Adam.
yeah,
And
mine's huge. Mine's like 382 grams. You
I
don't
would,
need that much.
yeah, I would recommend just buying a smaller amount.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine looks like it's 75 milliliters and it's a lot. Not something you would use anytime soon, even if you did a lot of sculpting.
But yeah, so do that if you're sculpting. It'll help a lot. You'll become a better sculptor immediately.
And things will just go so much more smoothly that
Yeah.
you will just be better because the putty is doing like the stuff you're wanting it to, and you're not fighting to
Yeah, you will literally
like have it
improve
stick.
overnight. You will be better
Yeah.
with doing essentially nothing. I have the 1 ounce 29. Yeah, that's probably what you want. I have 13 ounces. You don't need 13 ounces. Yeah. Because, yeah, like, you just have like a light sheen on your tools and it works. It does wonders. I can't wait until Modern Synthesis you have that video on your channel. Like, I feel we should
Mm-hmm.
probably, once that's out, we should probably either start or end every one of our streams plugging that video.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
yeah, more people need to.
Do it.
Mhm, yeah. Cool. Yeah. Thanks everybody for joining us tonight. It's been fun. We will keep on enjoying the hobby. We certainly will. Stay
Mm-hmm.
safe and healthy. And until next time, over and out.